Hello, everybody. Welcome to today. And I just got a text. Oh, okay. All right. Good deal. Well, anyway, welcome to today's live group class. Welcome, everybody. We have a new group of people who joined us this last week, and we are excited to have you here. Today's presentation is a great one to start in on. By the way, we do these live classes every Wednesday at 12:30 Central. Every once in a while, it changes or I update it depending on if I have to travel or something. But most time, I'd say 50 weeks out of 52, we're going to be live right here on Wednesdays, 12:30 Central Time. And today's presentation, we're going to start in on going through the training, spinal hygiene training, why you need to know it, what you need to know, why we do each one of the spinal hygiene exercises, why they're important. If you're watching live from the spinalhygienedoctor.com/live-class, that's where we go live on these presentations. I'm actually going to put in the live, and if you can't see or hear me, to just hit refresh. If you're watching from I go live in there now as well, just to make it easier for you. You might even get a Facebook notification that we're live there sometimes, and it might be easier. So make sure that I'm going here. My internet is decent at the Tomball Clinic. That's where I'm at right now. And sometimes it kind of goes in and out. And I've tried every AT&T to every other kind of thing, and there's no, Tomball is kind of a rural area, so there's no fiber optic cable that comes into this building. It's cost me like $8,000 to get a cable put in here, so we just haven't. But roll, we are live. If you can't see her, please hit the refresh button. All right. Now, if you guys would let me know that you can see and hear me, that'd be great. And then also, if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat, or of course, you can pop them in the Facebook line, and we'll definitely get those as well. Good. Cool. Well, we have a group of people here, so hopefully we'll even get some questions today. And let me start off by sharing. Actually, I'm just going to start with the 3 core concepts of spinal hygiene, but 10 minutes, let me explain the reason why spinal hygiene is so important. And it's so important that we as chiropractors grasp this concept and share this concept. Actually, for a presentation this weekend that I'm giving on spinal hygiene at Stephen Franson's seminar in New Hampshire. And so I've been going through and researching the story of dentistry, okay? Amazing story. It's really an amazing feat that dentistry was able to get dental hygiene to where it is today. Now, I know that we have a lot of people who say, well, your teeth are on the outside of your face. That is one thing, right? But obviously that didn't matter to people back in the early 1900s because people's teeth were rotting. I mean, they were just rotting away. Like dentistry, if you were a dentist back in the early 1900s, all you did was pull teeth all day long. That's how you made money, in fact, pulling teeth. That'd be like chiropractors today. All we do is treat back pain, and insurance pays, and we make a good living treating back pain. And so we're resistant to wellness care or to lifetime spinal care. Same exact thing happened in the early 1900s. People's teeth were falling out of their face. Dentists were pulling teeth all day long. They were so busy they were having to like hire associates and other dentists to help them pull freaking teeth all day. So back after they discovered in the late 1800s that bacteria caused tooth decay, this still went on, right? So early 1900s, Dr. Alfred Fones, father of hygiene, he said, we got to do something to prevent this. We've got to implement preventative measures, dental hygiene measures to prevent this tooth decay. But he did not grab this and go with it. In fact, he was fought. There were 3 types of dentists back then. They either, one, they didn't believe that you could prevent tooth decay. That was a valid argument that it could prevent it by doing any type of home care. Number two, they thought it was too costly. There's actually I have like research, I have articles that show back then that they thought that preventative dental care was too costly, and for the client, the patient would not do it at home because it cost them too much money to buy all the dental care and stuff like that. The third group of dentists, they actually thought that they said, yeah, well, guess what? If it does work, if we do prevent tooth decay, we'll all be out of business. So they fought because they would put them out of business if you taught people to take care of their teeth, because they all day long, and that's how they made their money. Okay. Now those are the three groups of thought back in the dentists. Imagine how hard time they had to actually promote dental hygiene. In fact, there was an article written in that Dr. Phones, he actually got the dental hygiene class put in the University of Ohio School for Dentistry. It was a preventive class that would actually educate dentists and would certify them in dental hygiene procedures. It was, number one, it was closed down by other dentists because that it was a hazard, that it would actually hurt their businesses if people got out of the school and started teaching dental hygiene. Number two, it was closed down, and the people who did graduate from it were not kept from being able to practice it. They were actually kept and told that you cannot practice this. So, okay, so anyways, look, dentistry didn't have a free road to dental hygiene either. But back then, dentistry was like, it was pulling teeth, right? It wasn't this huge conglomerate, like, household name that it is today. It wasn't the second largest healthcare profession in the world like it is today. That didn't happen until dentistry actually got dental hygiene into people's houses, and people started taking care of their spine on a daily basis. The dentistry exploded to a whole new level, and people started having this awareness that they need to take care of their teeth. And guess what happened to tooth decay? Down, down, down. Tooth decay started going down so significantly that it put denture companies out of business. Now look, denture companies were just booming in the mid 1900s, man. Every like TV commercial, when TVs came out, every like billboard, it was like, fix a dent, forget it, right? I remember that when I was a kid, even in the early 1980s, that dentures were just this huge industry. Now they're not 50, 60, 70 years for dentists to actually get this in people's houses, but people are taking care of their teeth better than they ever have before. 97% of Americans say they brush their teeth on a daily basis. 50% of Americans visit a dentist regularly, and that's a huge number. That's over 150 million people visiting a chiropractor regularly. Even if they just went once a month, we wouldn't be able to handle that many people, okay? So anyways, now look, fast forward from early 1900s to 2000s. We are seeing almost the exact same prevalence of decay as what people saw back in the early 1900s of tooth decay. In fact, it's getting worse, and I have studies to back it up that show more sedentary or increased spinal degeneration that we see. In today's day and age, we're seeing more and more. We know that cell phones are associated with neck alignments. You ever heard of text neck before? We know that reverse curvature is associated, or implementing or increasing the degeneration process in the neck. Sitting for long periods of spine causes degeneration. And so just like in the early 1900s, or actually in the late 1800s, when they discovered that bacteria caused tooth decay, that set up dentists, or at least set up Dr. Alfred Phones to say, okay, if we now know what the cause is, now we can actually prevent it. Now, if we didn't know what the cause was of spinal degeneration, prevent it, we would actually still need to be working on figuring out what the heck caused it, okay? But thank goodness we're actually living in the same like time frame as the early 1900s, where we know what causes spinal decay. We're just doing nothing about it. Okay, so now it's up to us. We are the group, man. You guys are my inner circle. We are the movement of spinal hygiene. And we can get this out there to people in mass quantities. Not only is it going to help your practice, because look, you can't help chiropractic without helping your own practice grow. We can't. If we don't grow our practices, if it doesn't work in our practices, it's not going to work for the rest of the chiropractic field either. So look, it's selfish, but it's not selfish in that if we can get this into our practices, yeah, we're going to grow a practice. We're going to be more certain about what we're doing. But also, we're getting this out into the public. We're going to help other practices. We're going to help chiropractic in general. It's going to explode. Just like I feel like this is almost the greatest opportunity that we've ever had right now, is to share this message with as many people as we can. And so let's look at the numbers. Here are the numbers, and I can post the studies for this. In fact, I will when I send out the replay, and I'll post it in the Facebook group, is 96% of people develop spinal degeneration by the age of 80. Of people. 80% of people develop spinal degeneration by the age of 50. Now, we used to just think that age, that's what you got. In fact, I'm sure you've heard patient after patient after patient say arthritis comes from old age. Well, that's true. But now it's actually evident that it doesn't come from old age, because now research and studies show that 37% have spinal degeneration. 37%, more than ever in the history that we know of since we've been researching or tracking or taking x-rays. And people have spinal degeneration in their 20s. Now, 37 is growing. Imagine when it gets to 50, 60, 70% of people having spinal degeneration in their 20s. When's it gonna hit a nerve, right? Where people are like, okay, we need to look at maybe preventing spinal decay, okay? Now, you think that 20, if they have bad lifestyle or whatever it is, or they're overweight, that they might could have spinal degeneration in their 20s. There was a study not too long ago that came out of Scotland that shows 9% lifestyle, video games, whatever it was, poor posture. And obviously, guys, it's happening to younger and younger ages. Now, season 2 of my podcast is about to come out, and it's titled The Arthritis Conspiracy, because I truly believe medicine knows this, all right? You and I are not the first ones to think of spinal hygiene. In fact, not only in chiropractic, like Dr. Ben Lerner told me his mentor, Dr. Ian Grasson, was big on spinal hygiene, was trying to get it out to the world, and unfortunately, he died. He died at a younger age, I think in his 50s. And wasn't able to do it. So Dr. Ben Lerner, he's actually purchased spinal hygiene kits for his office and encouraging it for his coaching clients as well now, and wants to help us to get spinal hygiene to the world, because his mentor, it was such a passion for his mentor, Dr. Ian Grasson. In fact, if you look on, if you like search for spinal hygiene, Dr. Grasson's, if I'm saying that, Grasson, I think I'm saying that right, his article comes up as one of the most most clicked on, looked up, and visited articles on spinal hygiene that you can find. I know I've heard people say Dr. Jim Sigafus actually talked about spinal hygiene as well. But look, chiropractors aren't the first one to think about spinal hygiene. I guarantee you the medical field has had their opportunity to implement spinal hygiene measures, but watch this. Why would they? We've got an $86 billion pain pill industry where a majority of that comes from back pain. Now you're giving the prescribed back pain medications at younger and younger ages. Okay, look, the average spine surgery, the average back surgery costs $100,000. Now, if back in the day you could give a back surgery to a 50-year-old, then maybe you get one pop, $100,000 out of their lifespan. But now you can give back surgeries to 20-year-olds. Okay, so 3, 4 pops, because what's going to happen is that back surgery is going to need another surgery 10 years, and then another 10 years. So now they're getting $300,000 or $400,000 back surgeries after one life. Why would they be motivated to implement any type of spinal hygiene measures? They wouldn't. They wouldn't. It's up to us. Nobody else is going to do it. No, there's no physical therapist going to do it. I doubt medicine gets like so crazy severe that they can't. Like let's say if there was a rash in the country that this person got like red bumps all over their face, and 37% of 20-year-olds were getting this massive rash with red bumps over their face. CDC, man, there would be a worldwide like people would go crazy. It would be like outbreak, right? But because it's inside, it's called the silent epidemic. Nobody sees it. Medicine knows nobody can see it or even know that it's there. You don't even feel it until it gets bad. It's like that cavity. You didn't know it was there. When people had rotting teeth, that cavity could have been there for years before it actually ruined their tooth, right? Same thing can happen on the inside of the spine. And so anyway, I'll move into our training today, into our spinal hygiene training. But look, use that. Tell that to your patient. Like, this is the reason why it's so important that you do these spinal hygiene exercises. And I hope that I can get that across to you, that this is important. So there's reasons. Okay, let's start with the three main concepts of spinal hygiene. If you look across chiropractic, there's a lot of chiropractors doing a lot of different things, okay? So, I mean, like, you could talk to one chiropractor and they could say that what they do is right, and they look at another chiropractor and they say that what they do is wrong, and there's so much, like, fighting and stuff. There is no chiropractor in their right mind that could refute the three basic concepts of spinal hygiene. Be able to argue, like, little tweaks of it or something, but there's no way they could dispute. In fact, you can go to medicine and they will not dispute the three basic concepts of spinal hygiene. And they are this. Number one, a certain alignment. Okay, that's all we're saying. The spine should be in a certain alignment. We know this to be true. Now, you might be able to argue a range, at the certain range, but you can't argue that it has a normal alignment. I mean, there would be, if there was no normal alignment of the spine, there would be no diagnosis of scoliosis. Okay, you couldn't diagnose scoliosis because there's no normal alignment of the spine. No, we know that's ridiculous, normal alignment of the spine, and you can track it all the way back to Leonardo da Vinci, where he actually did studies on cadavers that show it from the front, and it should have natural curves from the side. I just unplugged my computer. Good thing it's a laptop. All right, so the spine should be straight from the front. It should have natural curves from the side. Now, I tell my patients that each curve should be approximately 40 degrees. So 40 degrees in the neck, 40 degrees in the upper back, the opposite direction, 40 degrees into the lumbar spine. We take x-rays and measure those. You don't have to do that. You could just say, look, it should be in a certain alignment. It should have certain curvatures in your spine. That from massive studies. You know, if you could use it, like, let's say we know that your eyesight should be 20/20. How do we know that? Because the people who had normal eyesight, the big bell curve majority had 20/20. So you can look at the spinal alignment. The bell curve majority had a certain particular spinal alignment. We call that normal, okay? That's concept number one. Spine should be in. Concept number two is that the spine should move through a full range of motion in each direction symmetrically. That's not debatable either. In fact, therapists live on that. Like, that has been most researched concept of spinal hygiene out of all of them, is that the spine should move through a full range of motion symmetrically. If it doesn't, then there's a reason why it doesn't. There's an issue, there's a problem, okay? The third concept is we're saying that the muscles around the spine should be strong and fit. That might be, specific to the individual, how strong and fit those muscles are. But we know when a muscle is out of balance, when it's weak, when it's degenerative, when somebody gets one side, let's say that you have rhomboid, someone cuts the rhomboid on one side, what happens? So we know that muscles should be strong and fit. They should be symmetric. And that is the third concept of spinal hygiene. And there should be no chiropractor in the world in their right mind that would debate those things. Like, I could understand if there were a cause or an adaptation of the body. Like if someone did cut my rhomboid, okay, I'd probably adapt some other muscles, but I still wouldn't call that normal. There might be a limitation of matter, but it's not, but that's not the way that person should be, right? Okay, so that's all I'm saying. Three concepts, we need to own those, and knowing those, like knowing what normal is, helps us to implement procedures that help keep the spine normal. It's like if babies are not born with crazy bacteria degenerating their enamel in their day. I guess babies aren't born with teeth. That's a bad analogy, but you know what I mean? Like that the bacteria there, that without that bacteria in the teeth stay healthier. So therefore, we can find out how can we help someone keep their teeth in a healthier state by removing that bacteria. Oh, here's a toothbrush, right? Okay, so now that we know the basic concepts of spinal hygiene, we know that the spine should be straight from the front, have natural curves from the side. We know that it should move through 3 planes of motion symmetrically, fully. Then we know that the muscles around the spine should be at least strong and fit or balanced in some way. So now, how can we implement, here comes the big question, the easiest, simplest exercises for someone to do on a daily basis. Important. I believe that's very important that we have the simplest exercises possible, because here, let me give you this example. Let's say brushing your teeth took an hour. That if you did it every morning, spend an hour to brush your teeth properly. Who would do that? Nobody. We would go back to teeth rotting, because nobody would just invest an hour of their day, because it would just be too hard, right? I'm not saying some people might, but not the majority. Okay, so brushing your teeth is simple. It's so easy, it takes like anybody could do it. That's what we need to find and use for spinal hygiene, okay? That's why we've created the spinal hygiene procedures that we've created so far, because I found over the last 8 years of implementing them, sorry, I got another text. Apparently some of my websites are not working properly, so that happens. It's frustrating. But we'll get it fixed. So anyway, let's see, where was I? Okay, so now we're trying to determine the simplest activity somebody could do on a daily basis. So each spinal hygiene exercise, and let's talk about the science behind it, why we chose it, and how simple it is, and how they do it. Okay, now first of all, sorry. First of all, these are the cool spinal hygiene bags. If you guys got them already, you know they're super cool. And the logo. Now let's talk about, okay, talk about the range of motion exercise. Now I would say the 2 core exercises for spinal hygiene are the range of motion exercise and the spinal molding. Now I know we have 2 more other ones that are added, which are the wrist and the TheraBand. But I would say that the range of motion stretch and the spinal molding is like brushing your teeth, morning and night, brushing your teeth. And the TheraBand, those are like flossing. There's a little bit more. Not everybody does it. You don't know everybody does it all the time, but you should. And some people will, right? But everybody needs to brush their teeth at least. And that would be, and even if you don't do it for 2 full minutes, even if you just did it for 30 seconds, you need to be brushing your teeth, right? So I would say that the range of motion and the spinal molding are the 2 main spinal hygiene. Now, range of motion is simple. Here's how we got it. The range of motion of the spine, there's 3 planes of motion: forward and back, side, and rotation. Okay? So forward, back, side, rotation. Most people in our society have not taken their spine through a full range of motion in years. They don't go to a gym, they don't exercise, if they have a desk job or whatever, they might not have taken their spine through a full range of motion, literally in years. Now we know that loss of range of motion causes aka arthritis, degeneration. We know that by Wolff's Law. Dr. Wolff, he was the first one to see that bone remodeling in areas of pressure. So when we have lack of motion, or we have aka, or what the other thing I would call this is abnormal biomechanics. All right, so loss of range of motion or restriction or fixation, it's abnormal biomechanics. Abnormal biomechanics causes areas that are distorted. And so pressure areas causes the laydown of calcification, according to Wolff's Law. That causes bone spurring. Explain it that if a joint is not being used fully, then the body begins to, it's not sending, so the body begins to actually fuse that joint. We've seen it in casts. If you keep your arm in a cast, for long periods of time, or your leg, they don't really put arms in casts for 9 months anymore like they used to, because of the arthritis. The calcification mechanics caused laying down of calcification. The receptors were not being fired, so the body just tried to grow that joint together. It was trying to support it. It was adaptation. It was the right thing for the body to do. I'm not saying that, but if there wouldn't have been that restriction, then there wouldn't have been the calcification. Actually prevent that joint mobile by increasing the range of motion. And when that's not foolproof, the best ways to do that is to have the person go take their spine through a full range of motion every day. And the great thing about that is it's simple. It's so easy. I mean, all in the morning or when they get to work, and bend forward and hold it for 10 seconds. Bend back, hold it for 10 seconds. Lean to the left, hold it for 10 seconds. Lean to the right, hold it for 10 seconds. Rotate, hold it for 10 seconds. For 10 seconds. Now, you could do that for the lower back. You could do that for the neck as well. But literally, if they hold the area for 10 seconds, that's 6 areas. That's 1 minute. Boom. And they're keeping range of motion, and we're preventing spinal degeneration by keeping proper, or at least helping to keep proper biomechanics. Now, look, it's not corrective. I'm not saying that they don't need to go get an adjustment, because if they have lack of range of motion, that's one of the qualities of vertebral subluxation. And so you need to address that. And you're a board certified chiropractor, the only person qualified to correct spinal subluxation. So you need to be adjusting that, restoring that, and correcting that that alignment and that range of motion and that subluxation, and then having them maintain that correction through doing the spinal hygiene exercises at home. Okay, so range of motion is the first one, and it's because of Wolff's law and proper biomechanics that we know that the normal spine should move through a full range of motion. Therefore, if we keep the spine moving through a full range of motion, we could potentially lower our risk for spinal degeneration. I say lower our risk, and I'm throwing a lot of quotes at you here with my fingers, but that's because somebody told me, we got mad if we said, what was it? Prevention? Like, they don't want you to say that. Spinal degeneration? I don't know. I say lower your risk for spinal degeneration. Right? Whatever. Okay. Now the second one, I have a spinal molding roll here. This is the old blue ones. The new ones are cool, and they're black, and they're sweet right now. They got the logo on the end. But I'm going to use a blue one to show you. Okay, so we do spinal molding because of the first concept, that the spine should be in a certain alignment. Okay, so we know that the spine should be straight from front to back, and they should be adjusted for that if it's not. Now, then the spine should not be straight from the side. From the side, we should have those natural curves. So we know that loss of curve increases. There's a lot of studies on that. You can look it up. I can send you some. I think even some of our corrective care entities inside chiropractic have done those types of studies as well. But we know that loss of curve, especially in the neck, head forward posture, those were designed, or at least one of the reasons for the curves, is to help act like a shock absorber, because gravity is on you all the time. So if you have natural curves, your body is able to give. It keeps the discs open. Of loss of those curves, we're getting jamming of those discs, and we get further degeneration. And we know that our society today, with cell phones, computers, all these losses of curves are in the neck. And then, some people have a lost curve in the low back as well. So is in the evening, they just lay on a spinal molding roll, and I have them do it in their bed, like when they go to sleep. I just have them lay on in their bed, so it's not as intense on their neck, and then they get into a habit of every morning and every night. So range of motion in the molding at night, range of motion in the morning, spinal molding at night, just like they brush their teeth, and it gets them more active, their spinal health. And if they have loss of curve in your office, you can adjust that, you can correct that as part of the vertebral subluxation. But then what are they doing on a daily basis to preserve that curve? Because I guarantee on a daily basis they're damaging that curve. All day long they're sitting here in front of a computer, they're looking at their cell phone, and what are they doing every day to actually support that curve at all? Probably nothing. Okay, so that's why we recommend spinal molding. I recommend the cool black ones. No, I'm just kidding. And these instead of the blue ones. Okay. Now let's look. That was the brushing. Those are the brushing your teeth exercises, like range of motion in the morning, spinal molding at night. Now let's look at the flossing exercise. It might be a little harder, it might be a little less people who are doing it, but we're still promoting it like crazy. What dentist is not going to tell you to floss or get on to you if you're not flossing, right? Okay, so that would be the wobble disc exercises. TheraBand, where's my TheraBand? I don't know where I put it. Anyways, let's talk about the wobble disc exercise. Well, first of all, let's talk about the reasons why we would add the wobble disc exercise and the TheraBand exercise. Because what are the two most degenerative discs in the spine? L5 and C5, right? L5 and C5, most degenerative discs in every spine. If you take x-rays, you're probably going to see loss of disc height at C5 and loss of disc height at L5. So if we can implement something like flossing or like wobble discs or TheraBands to prevent that, or sorry, not prevent that, lower the risk for that, then that would be extremely helpful. So what causes degenerate? Lack of motion. So imbibition is disc. You can look that up on Google. Imbibition is so that if the joint or disc moves, it pumps nutrients in, waste material out. Nutrients in, waste material out. If we have a fixation, which is part of the vertebral subluxation, so you need to adjust that and correct that, then it's no longer getting that good imbibition. The nutrients aren't getting in, the waste materials aren't getting out, and we have speeding up of degeneration. We have advanced, increased degeneration in that disc, and that most commonly happens at L5 because of the lack of motion, fixated, in a certain way, kind of to the sacrum. So it gets very fixated when we sit for long periods of time and we don't get that imbibition or movement. So once we get some movement back in there, what are they doing on a daily basis to help maintain that imbibition? Well, we put them on the wobble disc that they can do that on a daily basis. That's one of the best ways to get imbibition back to that lower spine. How cool is that? Now, the reason why we would actually have them do the head forward posture is what is the #1 most degenerative posture in the world? Head forward posture. I mean, you see people with a head forward posture like it's nuts. You see them all the time everywhere. And we know that head forward posture causes degeneration of those discs. So head forward posture being partly subluxation, the subluxation complex needs to be corrected and adjusted, allows that head forward posture to even be there. Weakening and stretching of those muscles in the upper portion of the back, and I understand that there's some people who are absolute experts at the musculature of the spine, a lot of different things with the SCMs or whatever it is, so that's awesome if you're even more advanced in that. But I'm just saying that we need to strengthen posterior muscles, because one of us, all of the muscles in the front get stronger, muscles in the posterior get weaker, shoulders begin to round, head begins to stick out forward. So if all we did was take our resistance band, which I don't have here because I must have dropped it or something. Anyway, the resistance band goes around the back of the head. We'll tuck their chin and pull back, hold for 10 seconds, relax for 5, 10, relax for 10, whatever there. And if they do that on a daily basis, they're at least activating posterior muscles, strengthening postural muscles that help hold that head posture back. And I guarantee you saw a patient who came in, I think it was yesterday. No, actually it was in his report yesterday. And he has almost 3 inches, 56 millimeters of head forward posture. Where you measure the back of C2, the back of C7, and you measure how their head forward posture on x-ray. 56 mil head forward posture. And I just could guarantee you, if that had been doing this exercise for the last, because he was probably in his late 50s, right? Maybe 60. If he'd been doing that for the last 30 years, no, that would not have been possible. Like, we could have prevented that. That's spinal hygiene. He needed to be adjusted. He needed to be under chiropractic since he was a baby. Would have been ideal. So somebody who has never been to the dentist or doesn't go to the dentist regularly, that's one thing. But somebody who doesn't brush their teeth, shape, horrible shape. So that's what this is. If you don't go to the chiropractor regularly, that's one thing. But you don't ever do anything to maintain the health of your spine, and you asking me why you have a 56 millimeter head forward posture, what causes that? Like, come on. Why you have 19 cavities in your mouth? Have you ever brushed your teeth? No. There you go. That's why. And so the same thing goes for, if we could just get some people doing these type of preventative exercises, I think we can have a huge impact. Very efficient. Very exercises take more than 60 seconds or 2 minutes tops. People can implement them in their daily basis. It makes them more aware of their spinal health, so they come to better retention, lifetime patients. So don't be that dentist, or I know you guys aren't talking to the choir, but don't be that dentist back in the 1900s that was saying, oh, if we teach people to do stuff at home, they won't ever come into our office. That's not true, man. You teach the people to do stuff at home and take care of their spine. They're going to be so aware of their spinal health. They're going to be your best patients, and they're going to bring their kids in, their family in, and refer people in, because you're helping them and you're giving them a huge value, which is lifetime spinal care. And they're going to be healthier and safer and stronger because they are in your office. So thanks, guys, for sitting through this this class. We went about 35 minutes, I think, there. A lot out of it. I'm going to refresh the screen here to see if there was any questions. Sometimes it doesn't pop up in my chat room unless I hear. Yeah, it takes a while to refresh this screen in my slow internet. All right, cool. So no questions. Thanks, guys. Hope this was valuable. And thank you so much for being a part of this movement and being on board with us. I greatly appreciate you. If you need anything, don't hesitate to email me, call me, comment on any of the, or post in the Doctors Club, and I'll try to get you anything you need. As are my inner circle, and I appreciate you helping us to share the message of spinal hygiene with the world. All right. And I'll send out the replay here coming up soon. Thanks, guys, so much. Talk to you later.